We don't have a hope problem. We have a sight problem. Hope has already come. It is already here. You might say, what? You might say, where? Well, hope isn't a thing. Hope isn't a set of circumstances. Hope is not any of that. Hope isn't first a set of ideas. Hope is a person, and his name is Jesus. And it might be hard for the rational mind to grasp this. I have a hard time even grasping it myself, but Jesus has certain qualities. That is what we can agree on. Whether you believe in Jesus or not, Jesus has a certain set of qualities that it is that really encompasses hope. And so hope isn't a thing. Again, it isn't a set of circumstances at all. It is so much more than that, right? And Jesus, he came to earth to face what you face and to defeat what defeats you so that you could have hope. That's really the thought pattern here. Hello, hello. Great to have you join in. Thank you for being here. So sometimes, right, we lose the sense of connection to hope ourselves. And so what I've come to realize is that hope is actually the last thing to go before a death. And it might be an actual physical death, or it might be more of a metaphorical death, or a metaphysical death, or a death of a season, or whatever. The last thing to go is always hope. So, hope is really what it is that stays with you until the end, right? So, Emily, here's what's the topic now. Good, thanks for noticing. Yeah, so the topic for today is that we don't have a hope problem, we have a sight problem. And what I'm really getting to here actually is that, again, hope is the last thing to go whenever we, let's say, we're going for something, we're building something, or we have created something. The last thing to go before we give up is hope. But we shouldn't necessarily focus on hope. We should focus on sight because that's really our problem. We already have hope, it's already within us, right? But the last thing to go is hope. But we have a sight problem. We don't have the full scope to understand every single situation, right? We can agree on that. We don't have the full sort of omnipotent, omnipresent, um, overarching perspective necessarily. So if we can acknowledge that we don't have a hope problem, we have a sight problem, and that we can't see the overarching perspective always, then that really allows us to go about reality in a totally different way, right? Yeah, my whole life depended on hope. Yeah, all your life depended on hope. Exactly, exactly. And you might question, like, okay, what's the difference between like hope and faith? And I think that hope is something we have. It's kind of there, whereas faith is hope applied. Hope actually being applied to your life and you actually taking certain steps. So hope is there. The question is, do you acquire the faith to actually apply it in your life and go about things in your life? And when you don't see the results that you want, when you don't see where you're going, when you don't see the full picture, when you sort of feel like you're losing hope, re adjust yourself to the thought that it's not necessarily that you just lose the hope. The hope is there. It's just that you can't see the overarching long-term like effects. You don't have that sort of capacity necessarily to see things from the end. We can practice having that, and that allows us to actually stay persistent despite what we the lack of what we see and not see. So, what we want to focus on is nurturing that hope, nurturing that faith, applying ourselves over and over and over again, even when we can't see the full picture, right? Because the picture will evolve as we work on it, as we show up with hope and with faith. And then you say, I do all my hard work depends on hope. I never give up hope. Yeah, exactly. That's great. That's great. I think that, again, hope is the last thing that goes, truly. And we can go to the extent, right, of losing hope in life, losing hope in losing hope in eternity. That is when you can get really destructive thoughts, and it can really limit your ability to think creatively. It can limit your ability to go about life, to socialize, to just trust, really. But I have this firm sense that hope is always there. It's as if, though, that when the spirit gives up, hope goes with it. So that is the last thing to go. It is hope. So we want to again focus on nurturing the hope. The hope is there, but acknowledging that we don't have the full sight. Hello, Mama. Nice to see you again. We want to focus on the fact and really acknowledge the fact that we don't have the full picture. We have a sight problem. We don't have a hope problem. So I want to state it again. If you feel like you're losing hope in something, it doesn't mean that you no longer have the hope. It's simply that you don't have the full picture. You have a sight problem. We as human beings, we have that. Yes, many times I feel this lose hope and then feel nothing in the future, but again, someone gives hopes and again, all energy come back. Yeah, exactly. So think of it this way, right? The hope is there. It's more as if throughout our life journey, we sort of get better and better at regaining the hope, at coming back to the hope, at beginning to get like basically through applying the hope through faith and faithful action, we begin seeing maybe a little bit incremental results here and there. And then the thing that happens is that we can sort of enlarge in our scope and our sight, but we never ever will be able to have the scope and the sight that God has. And this is essentially why sort of nurturing our relationship with God is so necessary, because what we're actually doing is we're connecting with a power beyond us that we have connection to, that we can regain strength and hope from, and thus we can persevere despite us not having the full picture. So I'm really curious to know with you if you have if you're working on something right now where you feel like you're losing hope, or you have trouble regaining that, feel free to share. I could definitely give some insight on what I think could be the issue there and how you might, actually regain the hope again. But essentially, the hope is always there. It's just about regaining it and enlarging our perspective more and more, and acknowledging that it's just not possible for us to know the full picture. And how is this applied? Well, it's applied in our relationships, in our career, in our work, um, and all these things. For instance, in a relationship, right? Then we definitely can go in and out of having hope. So in the beginning, right, we tend to have more hope that that basically also is there also because of a lot of hormones, and we might have infatuation, and we have a lot of visions as to what this could become, and so the hope is really high and it's really present. But as we sort of like grow together, and as we then stay together for a longer time period of time, then the hope might be fluctuating or falling away a little bit here and there because of, and this is the human mind then saying, because you did that and you did that and you did that. And so we take the external reality outside of us as evidence to lose hope, when in fact it's just what we don't acknowledge is that we don't have the full picture. We have a side problem, we don't have the whole problem. So this is why I've come to realize that sort of nurturing the relationship with God, praying and keeping sort of this truth at the forefront of my mind always really helps me, and it could help you too in relationships with other people, because you can acknowledge that, okay, I might not have full on hope right now in, this relationship and where it's going, or in this business and where it's going, or this career or study path or whatever, but I still focus on nurturing my relationship with the one that has the full perspective and that has the full picture. And it allows you to not get soaked into each and every single problem that you encounter, thinking that that is sort of that everything is going downhill from there. And it allows you to sustain yourself in relationships, and it allows you to sustain relationships and businesses and ideas and all these things as well, right? Now, let's even talk about relationships or ideas or businesses or something like that dying. And you might actually find yourself losing hope because you feel as if something is dying or something is falling away. And you're questioning why that is. You're questioning, why is this happening to me? Why is this occurring in my life? I don't understand. I thought that I was on path. This was something that I truly wanted. And what I see nowadays is this sort of cancel culture where it's so easy for most people to sort of then just take that as a fact and just let things go super quickly without nurturing the relationship with eternity, with God, and with the power beyond us that can truly heal and restore ourselves, relationships, and ideas and businesses. We sort of then get into this habit of starting things and letting it go, starting things and letting it go, starting things and letting it go. And even though, yes, there are sort of an interconnected reality, and we can't possibly control everything, and we can't possibly finish every single thing that we start, because we are like nature. A seed grows, and then you have no idea as to what point necessarily, or if at all, it's going to take root, rise, and bloom. I think that if we're here to really grow our spirit, grow in spirit, then we can absolutely use the power of the mind, use the power of the subconscious, use the power of connection to God, use the power of sort of getting the connection to eternity and or the perspective of eternity to persevere, to build endurance, and to really truly not get lose hope, to come back to hope, to come back to hope. Because what happens when you persevere or overcome that, then you grow. That is real growth. Growth is when you tear something down a bit and then it sustains itself, and you grow beyond it again and again and again and again. And what then happens each time is that your sight grows more, as if you literally expand your consciousness. That is when your consciousness expands. to the point where you can gain more of a perspective of what God has for you, because you can see more, you have more experience, you have more, you have got that grit and perseverance in you, in your spirit, in your soul. So instead of sort of letting in to sort of letting go fairly easily, and I've had lots of experience with this myself, and I've been caught in that myself, then what happens is that we don't get to experience the true spiritual transformation that we came here to experience, I think. Okay, thanks for your words. Now I have to go. Share with you in inbox. Yeah, so nice day. Yeah, have a nice day to you too. So great to have you join in. I appreciate your presence here so much. And I will see you again soon. Thanks for joining. So, again, this was what was on my heart right now. We don't have a hope problem, we have a side problem. Hope is there. Just reconnect with it over and over and over again. You actually you have the connection, you see, but you just don't have the full sight. We have a sight problem. Um, that is really what it ends up sort of being all about. And it says that actually in Ephesians 1, chapter 1, verse 18 through 19, it says, having the eyes of your hearts enlightened, that you may know what is the hope to which he has called you. What are the riches of his glorious inheritance in the saints? And what is the immeasurable greatness of his power toward us who believe, according to the working of his great might? So, the beginning of that sort of verse right there talks about, again, having the eyes of your hearts enlightened. So, our heart needs to be enlightened, that you may know what is the hope to which he has called you. So, God calls us to have hope, to persevere when we face challenges or challenging situations, or regardless, really, just to have hope, even in the face of joy. Because even when we have joy, we're like, how can this be possible? Will this end? It's this sense of like being discouraged when things even go your way. But he has called you to have hope. God has called you to have hope. What are the riches of his glorious inheritance in the saints? So this is really the riches that we're aiming for. It's to have and regain that hope over and over and over again, and that is the power. And you can probably find even more scriptures on hope too. I know that hope is definitely related to faith, and it's faith. Hope is really just, mm, I would say what it is that it's something that you have, and faith is your hope applied to something. So when you apply it, that's when your hope really comes into full fruition and can bloom, and you can grow your sense of hope more and more and more and more. And we want that to happen, right? That our hope sustains itself and that it not just stay as hope, because sometimes that's the case, that we sit here just hoping. But faith is taking that hope that you have in God and truly then applying it to your life, to your relationships, to your business, to your career, to your whatever you do, whatever you experience, you get to apply it to your life. So hope isn't a thing, it's not a set of circumstances, it's not just a set of ideas. It's eternal in you, and what you don't have is sight, right? We have a sight problem more than a hope problem. So that's it for today. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you also tomorrow. Stay bright, brave, and super balanced. God bless you.